my god, it's almost here. Okay, so the fall release is usually my favorite for the year, so I'm very excited to get in and have a look at the goodies with you. We are going to be going through the blog post that's on the Art Olive website to kind of pick out the ones that maybe have captured our heart, the ones that were like, okay, yeah, that's going on my shopping list. I need to get that. If you haven't checked it out, it does have the full release with all the listed items. We have QR code that you can use, like scan to go through and look along with us, or you can just watch the screen because that's what we're gonna put on the screen. But hello, welcome. Let me know. Have you already had a look at it? Are there any items that you're excited about already? Is there anything that you're like, yeah, definitely on my list? I already know that like calligraphs are gonna be on my list. I'm a completionist when it comes to pen sets, so I must have it. I'm every time I see the acrylographs, I get this inkling like, "Ooh, that's like a beautiful palette. Like maybe I can start using paint pens." And I'm like, "Girl, no. You literally had to give away over $1,000 worth of acrylographs because you were not using them. They were, destined for a different home, one that would actually use them." Let's see, what do we reckon? One item that will be there at the time of the Halloween release and will be ordered then? Fair, right? Just because it's releasing this week, it doesn't mean we have to order this week. I am just the kind of person who gets a little bit worried that things will sell out, especially when we have notebook designs where people are very excited about them and such. So I want to make sure that I get all of my items, and I will be up in the wee hours of the morning to collect them. This release is coming out 9 a.m. CT on the 9th, which for me is 2 a.m. So sweet. Hello, everybody. Excellent. Alrighty. So let's get in and have a look at the goods. So as said, we've got our blog post full reveal here. So like we mentioned, that is Friday the 9th at 9 a.m. CT. Attic Treasures is our collection name, which, I don't know, attics scare me, man. Maybe I've watched too many horror movies. Is that idea of like, oh yeah, the like box of found footage in the attic, and then you watch it and it's all just like murder. We don't want that. Not that kind of attic treasure. We're thinking like actual treasure. And I mean, considering the fact that I'm in the middle of helping my parents move and like decluttering their space, we've certainly been finding some treasures as we've gone through. But let's see. So 5 new notebook designs. Now, in terms of the boxes here, you're like 5 new notebooks, but that's 6 boxes. What's going on? So, as they've been doing previously, we have different colors on the boxes based on the size of the notebook. So we can see like little midgy guy there. We've got a bit taller, 3 that are roughly the same size. So that's probably going to be like what the travelers, the B, no travelers, A5 and the square, because they're all roughly the same vertical height. And then we've got quite a large box on the end there. Those ones, though, you can see the little icon at the bottom that indicates which notebook in particular we're looking at. So that one's going to be one with falling leaves, maybe even called falling leaves. Let's scroll on. So the first notebook we have, the Frame Wall. So a collection of frames stamped in gold on a deep mulberry buckram cover. Now, I know we had a question a little bit earlier about like, are they leaning away from linen? Like, we're not getting that as much anymore. The thing with buckram is that oftentimes I can't tell if it's buckram or linen. So maybe that's why they're going more towards that than having more linen notebook covers. The nice part about the buckram is that it looks like linen, kind of feels like linen, but it holds up a lot nicer to the elements. And by the elements, I mean like there's something on your desk that shouldn't be and you accidentally put your notebook in it. Because yeah, this year literally I have stained one of my notebooks because there was something on my desk that I didn't realize was there, and now it has a nice little blob of something on the back cover. Doesn't smell bad. It was only an R&D notebook, but still, sadness. So this one here, though, we've got that mulberry buckram, and I'm tempted for this one because, as you can see, we've got the rainbow in the back. I think this one would be quite a nice addition to the rainbow, but we'll keep on keeping on so we can have a look at the gold foiling. Very nice. And the inside cover. So we've been seeing those designs kind of pop up in the inside cover now, and I like that they change what the design is based on the notebook as well. I think that's kind of cool. Like, for instance, in Mark's marked notebook, it was that kind of grid that was a gold with a slight holographic shine to it, which was really pretty. So I'm interested to see what the rest of these are. Let's see. At least it's the back, so you don't see it every single time you open the book. Exactly. And because it was an R&D notebook that got stained, I'm not too fussed about it. But it's really cute. I quite like that we have like a variety of frames, and we've got some kind of like little fall elements in there and such. We've got a little pumpkin. We've got like what, a little piece of lace work. Is it the guy over here? Let's open this one up and have a look at it a little bit closer. So there we go. We can actually kind of see, like, you can hopefully see here that this looks like it's linen, but it's not linen. And I think that's possibly why we've kind of been going towards the buckram. Yeah, it doesn't show the oil stains like the vegan leather does. Exactly. So I quite like the buckram. I think that was quite a, like, surprising material because I hadn't heard of it before they, started using it. But yeah, so we've got our little doily, we've got some leaves here, little paw print. So if you're an animal lover, particularly like four-legged friends kind of a thing, maybe this notebook would be for you. Pumpkins and florals, that kind of thing. Pretty cute. So that is design number 1, but as said, we have more. So our next one, the next one is called In the Attic, which has an owl in it. I genuinely hope there are no owls living in my roof. Oh my god, terrifying. But owl perching on a stack of suitcases and books. The design is stamped in gold on a soft suede-like green vegan leather. So we have seen different types of vegan leather from Archer and Olive and from other notebook companies and such. So this one is going to be quite a soft one, it seems, like soft suede-like, which we can see like it has a bit of a kind of texture to it in a way, in terms of like a color difference. It's not like the same the whole way through. I like that idea. Yep, Harry Potter vibes. I'm like, okay, yeah, Hedwig. I can kind of see it, especially with the suitcase. Like that feels quite Harry Potter, but that's pretty cute. So if we go and have a look at the inside cover of this one, oh, feathers. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I quite like that. I would like to see just a notebook with feathers on the front, like a very simple feather design. I would totally snap that up. Not for this release, but in general. Yeah, I quite like this one. You don't like the vegan leather texture, that is fair. I think that there are certain textures of the vegan leather that I'm more okay with than others. I would be interested to see what this one would be like in person. I'm trying to think if there are any notebooks in particular that I've had from Archer and Olive that would be kind of similar. But yeah, less under the stairs, more in the attic. Yeah. What is it, like movie 2 or something? He's like, yeah, I'll be up in my room pretending I don't exist, making no noise or whatever it is. Misquoted, definitely. But having a closer look at our design for that one as well. So go over here, try to like do things on multiple screens here. But yeah, you can see that there's a slight texture there. So I feel like it would probably be smoother than it looks, given the fact that it's called like suede-like. It'd be interesting to see how kind of like fuzzy that actually feels. But we've got the little oil lamp there, we've got our little suitcases, little stack of books. So yeah, it does feel very Harry Potter. I quite like that. So let's see. On to our next one. This is one of our full cover designs. So we're getting at least one full cover design per release, which is quite exciting. I don't know if you saw them at the start, but I've kind of lined all of my full cover ones up along this shelf here. Kind of in rainbow. We don't have quite as many colors as we do along the top. But I wanted to be able to see their covers because I thought that they were like special. But in terms of this one, we've got the acorn on the front. We've got that kind of like cross-hatch type deal, which is quite cute. I don't know if this is necessarily my favorite color, but I like, not color, rather cover. I like the color actually. I quite like brown. I'm like quite into brown at the moment, which is interesting because I'm not usually that, much of a fan of browns. But in terms of like the very large acorn design on the front, it's not my preference. But I do really like the spine design that they have on this one. I don't know if they show us in the pictures here. Yep, there it is. Okay, we're gonna go have a look at that spine because I think the spine is really cute. So you can hopefully see along here, we've got like the little, I don't know, botanical sprigs at the top and bottom. It's just like a mirrored kind of image here. We've got the little diamonds and then the oak leaves and the acorns themselves. I think that's really cute. I think it's quite pretty. I love spine designs though. And I think that the detailing on that looks really nice. But in terms of the back cover, we don't have foiling on there, which kind of makes sense because you sit that on your desk, you don't want the foiling rubbing off. But then we also have just that like kind of cross-hatch pattern. So similar design to the front and back, just without the large acorn and then no foiling on the back. Good question. Is there anywhere to see the pricing on everything? Would love to be able to plan and budget for when they go live. Typically speaking, if they're going to do a price hike or like an increase in price, they communicate that before the sale. So all of these notebooks should, in theory, be the same price as what their other notebooks have been on the site recently. So I think from memory, that's like $35 to $37 per notebook or something like that. I can't quite remember the pricing. I could be talking schmack. Hopefully not though, because that's what I've been budgeting in my head. Now, we've got little the oak leaves are so cute. So this is the issue because like I really like the color, I like the gold, I like the spine, I like the inside cover, but it's just the front cover of this one that doesn't speak to me as much, which is very upsetting. Like usually the full cover designs are my very, very favorites. But let's have a look. In terms of our next one, we have the vintage camera. So features a muted old camera design, stamped in matte gray on a cool gray buckram cover. So this one is a little bit more discreet, which is kind of funny because it's a camera. It's like big flash. No, not really. They're very sneaky. So this one is like that debossing kind of a thing. It's just like pressed in looking. It's quite nice. Actually, I kind of like the gray, which is interesting. I don't really have gray in my notebook. I don't really put gray in my notebook, but let's have a closer look at the actual image itself so you can see when it kind of catches the light. Hopefully you can actually make out what that picture looks like. Let's go have a look. So not that guy, that one. Woo! So again, we've got that on the buckram, I believe they said. So we've got the kind of like linen-esque looking, but not actually linen, so it'll stand up to the elements a little better. And I like the little spark. I'm a sucker for little sparkles, stars and sparkles. Oh my god! But I think that this one is possibly one of my favorite designs. I would personally like it on a different color. I'm not like opposed to the gray. I think the gray is still quite nice, but in terms of like the fall color palette, gray is not usually what I associate with fall, which seems silly because fall is very gray where I live, but it's cool. Yeah, it's very cute. I'm kind of thinking about this in terms of like a journal for snapping little pictures and kind of keeping little memories and stuff like that. Not that I like to memory keep in that way, but I think it would be really cute. But let's go have a look at our next one. So, oh, look at the little film reels on the inside, which is very sweet as well. In looking through all of my parents' old stuff, like as we've been kind of decluttering their house, we have found some negatives that are, just sitting in a folder. That we're like, oh, do we ever actually get these developed? Well, maybe we should try to. But it's quite. I like the fact that it's not so in your face. It is a little bit more kind of, subdued, sneaky like. So if you're the kind of person who prefers to have a notebook cover that isn't like, bam, patterns, aggressive, I don't know, whatevers, then that would be probably your kind of a notebook. I'm thinking very much like Mark in terms of this, given the fact that he like just had his notebook release. It's the kind of thing that would be a little bit more suitable to bringing into an office situation if you're the kind of person who goes into an office where people are judgy biscuits and they don't want you to have fun with your stationery. Okay, I'm still think it's fun, but anywho. So our next one is the swirling leaves, and this is one that I thought was really, really pretty as well. I love the simplicity of the design. I like that it's got that kind of like swoosh, which is something that I've done in a couple of my like previous journal setups and stuff on like cover images and things. But this one also for the notebook rainbow, I thought would be pretty good as well, depending on what the true color of it is. Because I know like when they take these pictures, they are trying to represent it as true to color as they can. But that can still be hard because you've got like, the actual kind of camera and then the I don't know, screens that people are viewing things on, all of that kind of a thing. Like it can be quite hard to represent colors as their true colors, but this is pretty cute. Let's see. So, oh, okay, excellent. We've got some prices here. Fabulous. So, typically speaking, our B5 is 39, our Square is 37, A5 is 35, Travelers is 31, B6 is 29, A6 is 25, all prices in US dollars. But, of course, remember, if you want to, you can save yourself some money if you use code JashiiCorrin10. You don't have to, you can use anybody's code, but save yourself some money. We love savings. So let's have a look. In terms of the inside cover of this one, we have the falling leaves, which I think is really cute. We'll have a closer look at the notebook design itself. So, oh, it's so cute. I really like this one. I think that I'm going to have to get this one. It's going to have to end up on my list because I just don't have enough yellow and gold in the rainbow. Like, here, I show you. Look at this. Over here. Oh my gosh. I'm backwards. We've got like, what, 2 true oranges and then like a burnt orange and then another true orange. That's insufficient orange. If you go and have a look at the pinks, look at that. So much more. So I need this notebook. Like, it's a need, not a want. But I do think the design is quite cute. I'm suspicious that maybe this one would be the one that would sell out first. I don't know if that's just like because it's a personal bias and I really love it, but which one do you reckon is going to go first? Like, of the notebook designs we've had a look at, we're going to have a quick little gander at them again. So we'll just close that one. So we had our acorn, the vintage camera, the in the attic or the owl, the swirling leaves, and the photo frame wall. And in terms of our sizing, you can see all the sizings here. So we've got A5, 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 A6, A6, A6. I'm not going to read all of them out. We have B5, B6, 8x8, and Travelers. So which one in particular do you guys reckon is going to be the one that sells out first? Just out of interest, betting on all of the odds or whatever. Like, we've got, the green one you think is going to be the most popular, or the frames, the acorn, the camera, or the frames, or the heirloom. We'll get to that in a second. That one's bloody gorgeous as well. The owl or the camera, the owl, nice. I think that the owl is pretty cute. I just think that, like, birds scare me. I don't know how many other people are like, oh, birds. They kind of creep me out. But in terms of the actual design of it, it does very much give the, like, Harry Potter kind of vibes. And I think that the suitcases are really cute. You think that the camera will get left to last? Interesting. I mean, I think that the company as a whole has been doing a lot better with stocking, I'm going to say, like, the right amount. It's not kind of what I mean, but they've been stocking, like, sufficient notebooks for us to have stock for a little bit longer, which is kind of nice, which I very much appreciate as somebody who lives at the wrong kind of end of the world, or at least in the wrong time zone to get online, quick snap smarts. But also I am the kind of person who will set an alarm and get up at 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. depending on what daylight savings is doing to me at the time. So let's see, acorn and the owl, color of the frames is lovely. Yeah, and I think that that's the thing about the color of the frames, is that it would look so good in the notebook rainbow. So I am very tempted to get that one. And then I'm also quite tempted to get the swirling leaves because my yellows and oranges are a little bit lacking, and that would be kind of nice to add into it as well. I'm like, yeah, I'm literally going to get the notebook to be a shelf trophy. My green selection is quite large as well, so I don't think I need the green, but the suitcases are pretty cute, even if the owl freaks me out. So plenty of sizes for us, which is quite nice. So A5, A6, B5, B6, 8x8 or square, and then Travelers. I know that for a lot of people, they like to use a square notebook for reading journals and such. And I think that fall is usually the time that people like to get those notebooks because, it's in the lead up to the end of the year, but at least it's going to get here with enough time to actually be able to set things up and whatnot. So in terms of adding to my order, I've got my little notepad here so I can add things to my order. I'm musing with the idea of adding the frames. I'm going to put that on the list, and also the leaves, because I think the leaves is really pretty. In terms of sizes, I will probably get them both in A5 because I want to add them to the rainbow, and I only put A5s in the rainbow. But let's see. Does AO ever do the velvet cover? Yeah, we've only seen one velvet cover from them, and it was in a sub box, but we haven't seen one from them since. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure that most of the velvet type covers come from Notebook Therapy, which we always have a discount code for that one too, but I don't really shop there very often. Anywho, moving on to the next one. Oh my god, it's so gorgeous. The color of this notebook is so beautiful. But this is the fall heirloom notebook. So it says next we have a truly unique notebook launching alongside the other fall designs. So it is this really pretty red with like little kind of like sprinklings of the gold, and then the inside is that very detailed kind of like botanical pattern. But oh, do I need a notebook this big? No. Do I want one? Yes. So I'm tempted to get this one. Anywho, so this Attic Treasures heirloom notebook features a full cover vintage design with deboss and gold stamping on a deep red vegan leather cover. Design spans the full notebook with special debossed and foil details on the back cover, spine, and front cover. It's so pretty. We're gonna have to open this one up and have a closer look at it. So that would be this one. Oh, it's so cute. What would I use it for? Great question. Je ne sais pas. Shelf trophy. Probably, because I don't have a specific use for a notebook that big, because this one comes in letter size. That's a big notebook. The only other letter size notebooks I have only really used one of them, and it's a lined notebook. I use it as kind of like a brainstorming book. But this one is so gorgeous. I'm very tempted to do one of those, like, "Oh, I'll figure out a use for it before it gets here," kind of things. But, like, I love I don't know, can you kinda, like, see along here? I don't know if you can see my mouse, but it goes along here with the botanical design. Like, that is such a gorgeous repeating pattern. And then in terms of, like, where they've put the gold, it feels very, like, minimal and cute, like, with the little kind of, like, dots around the outside. I'm a sucker for sparkles, I'm a sucker for dots. So this one is gorgeous. I'm very tempted. I'm very tempted. Do I need it? But I'm very tempted. So we'll have a look at the inside cover in a little bit more detail as well, because why not? We can do that. So this one, you can see it's got like individual kind of like what I'm going to think of like U shape pieces. So U up, U down, U up, U down, going across the page with that kind of gold, which a lot of the time when it comes to the inside cover of my notebooks, I do end up sticking something on it anyways. Like what in my current notebook, it had little stars and sparkles, and I stuck like this guy on top of it. But it's still pretty. It's still quite nice. It's a nice detail, and if you're the kind of person who doesn't stick stuff over the top of it, at least it's a little bit decorative. Like, you know, it's decorative and it looks kind of cute. But alrighty. In terms of the spine design, we've got that repeating kind of like floral botanical type thing, which is quite nice. And then on the back, we have the same design, except for the fact that we don't have the gold foiling. So we'll just open this one up so that you can have a closer look at it as well. But yeah, you can see like we've still got the same repeating patterns around the outside and the same design in the middle, except we just don't have that gold foiling because, as mentioned, if it's sitting against your desk, that gold foiling's just going to rub and then it'll come off. Rather than that, we'll just not have it there and then it's safe. But yeah, I know that a lot of people have used their heirloom notebooks as kind of like memory keeping books. So they'll like, you know, put in pieces of ephemera and like photos and all of that kind of thing, kind of turn it into like a keepsake book, which is a really nice idea because it feels special. And so to kind of like capture your memories in that would be a very special thing. I've got a memory keeping book somewhere in the back, which my grandmother made for me. I don't know if you can see it from this angle. There it is, down there. This is my keepsake book that my grandma made for me, just in like a spiral notebook that she like stuck some stuff over the front of. But if you were thinking of making that kind of a thing for, you know, your relatives to pass down, it would be nice if it was in a notebook that like feels like it's going to stand up to the test of time a little bit better than my very cute spiral notebook. But alrighty. So this one is retailing at $45, will be available in letter size only, and you've got the choice of dock red, lined, or sketchbook. So depending on what you want to use it for, you do have some flexibility in terms of paper, whereas the other ones are just going to be the dock red one. Yeah, you'll write your masterpiece with that one. I love it. It could be a wedding book. That'd be really nice. But yeah. It's quite cute. You wish that the loop was different. That is a good point. So in terms of the loop on this one, it is grey, but this is also the kind of notebook that I would probably be inclined to pull the loop out. I don't think I would need a loop to be there. I mean, I don't keep pens in my loop very often unless I'm taking it places, but usually if I'm taking my notebook places, I take a pencil case. So I don't often use the loop unless it's my 5-year journal because I want the one pen that I consistently use in that to be with that notebook at all times. So this is probably be the notebook that I probably just cut it off or rip it out. As carefully as possible. We want to be careful about these things because we want our notebook to stand up against the test of time. But the next one we have is fall accessories. Huh, so exciting. So we're thinking pens, we're thinking tape, we're thinking stickers, we're thinking stamps, but we're going to start with pens. So calligraph and acrylograph pens. I will not be getting acrylographs. It doesn't matter how cute the palette is, you don't need them. This is me talking to me here. You might need them. Go forth, buy what you want, but I'm not going to be getting them. So we have 10 new colors, which we love to hear because I always get like antsy about when we have duplicates because I'm like, I've already got that color. I don't need that color. I want more like range in my palette. So very good to hear that we have new pens. So we've got what? Deep lavender, mulberry, acorn, vermilion, deep blush, cottage moss, barn owl, artichoke, rosemary, and chrysanthemum. 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 I always pronounce that one wrong, and there's no way in heck I'm ever going to be able to type that out and spell it correctly, but I tried. So we can see that we have the calligraphs and acrylographs. I severely need to find new storage for my calligraphs because the lunchbox, literally a lunchbox that I'm storing them in, has run out of space. I do not have any more space for any of my calligraph pens, but that is a future me problem. Right now we're doing something else. So in terms of the acrylographs, these are the paint pens. These are the ones that they're opaque enough to work on white, blackout, craft, other color papers. Shake, 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 shake to prime them up and then use them. Pretty cute palette. We're going to open that up and have a look at what they look like on each of the different colors. So we can see that they all work well on the white, which is good because otherwise they wouldn't be very useful. And then we've got them on the blackout paper and also the craft paper. I'm very interested about the person who does the photography here. They always have it on the 1, the 2, the 3. Do they just use that one page of the notebook to draw out the little squares and then just flip to the next one for next time that they do a photo shoot? I'm curious about that. But in terms of the color range on here, I think that the first and second colors are really pretty. So is the third. The fourth one looks fairly similar to the second one, even though it is kind of more red than purple red. We've got a kind of pinkish kind of color, which is like a blush. I feel like I have a lot of pink pens from Archer and Olive. I don't think I've done an official count, except for the fact that there's a heap of greens, but then you've also got the teals, which is always tricky. But pinks we do seem to have a lot of, so I'd be interested to see how they compare to other pinks we have. We've got kind of olivey browny green kind of color, that kind of the orange one. I feel if we're going fourth from the bottom, all right, because I feel like I've gotten ourselves out of order. This guy here, I feel like the color of this pen doesn't match what I would expect from that kind of a cap color. I would expect a much more kind of golden color, but this one looks a bit more kind of sand subdued, but similar idea with the bottom one. This cap color looks quite punchy yellow, whereas the actual pen color itself looks a little bit, I don't know what I'm looking for there, but I don't think that's quite what I would expect from that one. I'm not getting paint pens anyway, so it doesn't really bother me, but I think that'd be interesting. So we've got those ones for the acrylographs, but in terms of our calligraphs, this is where I feel like we have a better color match, at least for that last yellow. So we'll open this one up and have a look at it. We've got the pink, which is quite nice still, and then that other pink, which is kind of a more subdued-esque version of a burgundy, I feel. But having a look through those ones, I still feel like this kind of yellow tone that's fourth up from the bottom does not perfectly match the cap color, but it might better match the little stripe on the actual barrel of the pen, which is typically where I would check for the color match anyway. So I think that color match looks better than the cap color match. Yeah. And then the one at the bottom, it matches a lot better in terms of the calligraphs compared to the acrylographs. But as far as a palette goes, I both appreciate and do not appreciate that they don't put them in rainbow order, because I'm a sucker for a rainbow. I always love the way things look in a rainbow order, so I always want them to be swatched in a rainbow order. But then we are more prone to the cheerleader effect, and it's like, oh, look at how beautiful this palette is because everything, like, is like a gradient and all that kind of thing. But by not having them in that kind of order, you actually have to look at the colors a little bit more and consider, like, do I like this color? So question for you guys, okay? If you're buying a set of pens, let's just say it's a 10 pack of pens because it's a nice easy math kind of number. How many of those pen colors do you have to like to warrant buying the set? Um, I'm thinking for me, it's really tricky because I'm a completionist when it comes to pens. So pretty much regardless of what the colors of the calligraphs were going to be, I was going to buy them anyways. I'm just like, yep, just take my money kind of a thing. But I'm thinking that, like, if I was considering this for a set of pens that I haven't purchased before, like if I didn't already have a kind of backlog of this type of pen, I think I'd have to like at least 7 of them. 7 of the pens, I think, is my number. What do you guys have? We've got 8, half, 4 or more, over half, 5, 6. Let's say at least over half, more than 50%. Fair. We've got a lot of you guys who are just like, it has to be 50% or more. There we go. Yep. Jessica's, we're thinking alike. Has to be 7. Because I think that, if I can get that 7 of them I genuinely like and I think I'm gonna use, then I feel like I can make my peace with the fact that I'm paying for 3 pens that I'm not really gonna use. I don't think that that's too bad, but yeah, you just want them all. Fair, that's also a fair stance to take on that. But yeah, if they're on sale, it's different. I think that's also a thing to consider. It's like when you bring the price into it, like how much is the packet of pens in terms of like monetary value, and can you kind of like justify it to yourself to have pens in the set that you don't really like as much. I love that so much. Marie's like, I don't care if it's one, I'll make the rest work. I kind of understand that because in terms of the mild liners, complete side note here, but in terms of the mild liners, I know that there's a particular set that if you get the Japanese version versus the American version, there is one pen color that is different, and I am so tempted to buy the American set just so that I can get the copper pen that I don't have. But I don't even use mild liners, so I like probably shouldn't. But I'm tempted. So calligraphs, I'm definitely adding this to my list, right? Make sure that you're adding things to your list. We like to go in with a plan. Also, if you go in with a plan, you're less likely to just be like, oh, that's pretty, add to cart, which I do sometimes do. So calligraph pens, they are on my list. Let's see. Ooh, zoomed in. The heebie-jeebies. We'll do the close. So our next sets are the fall washi tape. So we have 5 sets of washi tape, which are going to match the notebook designs. I do appreciate that they do this, so you can get like the kind of the full set of the owl in the attic, or the full set of the fall leaves, or that kind of thing. Are those like Tombos kind of? Yes, yeah. The calligraphs are similar to Tombos, except instead of the bullet end, they have a small brush tip, kind of like the Tombow Fudenosuke pens do. But having a look at our tapes, here are some boxes. That's less exciting because most of the time, I mean, I don't keep the little washi tape boxes. Most of the time when I open the washi tape boxes, I rip them, which is not ideal. But we have a kind of breakdown of what these are inspired by. So we'll scroll down so that we can have a read. So the frame wall, inspired by antique mirrors, family picture frames, vintage embroidery, and dried florals. The attic is inspired by stacks of books, cluttered desks, oil lamps, and ancient keys. Acorns is inspired by curious squirrels, cozy clothing, hot drinks, and autumn foliage. And then the vintage camera, inspired by reels of film, antique cameras, autumn landscapes, and instant prints. Nice. And then swirling leaves, inspired by autumn walks, changing trees, color of autumn, and falling leaves. Ah, gorgeous. I do like that they give you the kind of like, behind the scenes of what we were thinking when we designed each of the sets. Now, when it comes to washi tapes in sets, I am a bit of a persnickety biscuit. We're not going to lie about that. And I always think about like the cohesiveness of things like the elements and the palette, and whether I feel like I could use those tapes together. But that's because that's how I like to use tapes. So as we go into this, if I say any kind of like Nelly naysayer things, it's because I'm coming from that frame of mind, right? You might just be like, I don't care, I love each of these tapes, I'm going to use them together. And then I might say like, oh, they're not cohesive, I wouldn't do that. Doesn't matter. I'm not using your journal. I'm not using your tapes. So do as you will. Now, in terms of this one, ooh, which one do we start with? I'm thinking I just wanna look at the swirling leaves. I think it's really pretty. So, we might just open up all of them. Might just be easier that way. Let's see. Ooh. I don't know if you can still hear me, but excuse me while I cough up my lungs. Oh my gosh. This is what I get for running my mouth for too long. Do let me know if you can hear me still, though. So, we've got a bunch of different, yeah, leaves, foliage kind of bits, trees. Oh, that's so pretty. I think I like this one the most in terms of, like, the palette and the elements and stuff like that. Definitely need to have a drink before we continue. I'm glad that you can hear me because right now, like, my eyes are all teary and stuff. I'm like, "We don't need to look at that." The tapes are obviously just, like, too beautiful. I could not stand it. But I really like that we've got a kind of combination of, like, the close-up elements of the leaves and then the further away with the one at the bottom. I think that the inclusion of the lamp is interesting, but I'm not against it. So I think that as far as the sets go, like, at a first glance, I know we haven't looked at literally any of the other ones. I think that this is my favorite. I don't know how I'd use the trees, but I'm not sad about them. And I think the palette is really pretty. So, next one. Let's see. Our next one, this one would be the camera, like vintage camera, which kind of is given away by the fact there are cameras. In terms of the Polaroids, I think it's like it makes sense that they're full pictures, but I don't necessarily want pictures of cameras. That wouldn't really make a lot of sense, but it does seem like an interesting inclusion, I suppose. I think that the little rolls of tape look kind of cute, but I didn't necessarily think of them as little rolls of tape. I thought of them as little kind of like gas canisters initially, and I know that they're not, and I know that we literally can see the tape coming out of them, so that was silly. But Vogel just messaged me. He's like, "It sounds like you got my bug." I'm like, "I don't have your bug. I just don't know when to stop running my mouth." But I love the stars and sparkles, and I think that the blue tones that we kind of have throughout each of them look fairly good together. I don't know how I'd use the wider tape, but I think it's nice that we have a wider tape. You thought that they were little TARDISes? That's very fair. I can totally see that. And we make it just like, stick right little police box on it, and then it kinda looks like it's just traveling through time, but they're quite cute. I'm not upset about this one. I do think that the photo frames don't look like they match as well. I know that they're not photo frames. What are they? Polaroids. But I do think that this one is still quite cute, and I love the stars and sparkles. So next one we have. I keep on going to the wrong tab to switch between them, but let's see. We've got this one, which is our like owls kind of um, book pages, vintage keys kind of thing. I like the keys. I think that they're quite cute. I do think that in terms of palette, this one feels the most eclectic. Like we can kind of see some of the blue tones in the book and the owl together. And we also have like that kind of red background in the book tape and the owls with the little kind of like trunks or like travel cases. But I think the lamps are quite aggressive. Like, which is like it's fine, but it's kind of interesting. The keys remind you of the Halloween box. Yeah, that's fair. The lamps down the bottom, I I I don't know about it. I don't think that that's really my kind of one. Again, remember, all of this is just his personal opinion, so if she's talking schmack about a tape you like, don't just ignore her, it's cool. But I think that the lamps are an interesting addition, especially because you have, like, vintage oil lamps, and then you have, like yeah, it looks like a warning tape. Yeah, it's because before we zoomed in, I didn't even know those were lamps. Like, you really have to look at it, and I think that given that the background of the lamp tape is darker, and then the stand of the lamp is also darker, I think it makes it a little harder to tell unless you're looking up very close and personal kind of a thing. But You didn't know they were lamps until, like, 30 seconds ago? Yeah, fair. You wish they were moths. That would be kind of cool. I know that people are kind of, like, get a little bit, like, heebie-jeebies about bugs and such, but I think that little moths would kinda make sense, especially if they, like, were little moths and you were doing this as, like, a Hogwarts type journal, because that really kind of fits in with Hogwarts Legacy, I think. You kind of love the lamp tape as an old-timey wallpaper vibe? Yeah, see, 'cause I think that if they had an old-timey wallpaper kind of, uh, tape, I think that that one would kind of work quite nicely with this. Not that I think a lot of people wallpaper their attics, but, you know, it's still cute. It's cute. Owls eat moths and moths eat books. There we go. It's just like the circle of life, and books eat owls, especially if they're the Harry Potter books. So, that's a cute little set we've got there. And then in terms of our what this is the one that's related to the frames. So we have the vintage mirrors in that kind of like second tape. We've got some kind of little floral elements at the top. We've got the cross stitching in the third tape, and then we've got little bits and pieces for embroidery. Now, I think that the two embroidery tapes make sense, and I think the one at the top, not the one at the top, the second from the top, the pink one, kind of makes sense because you've got like the scissors and stuff. I don't I don't think that the top one is really for me. I think I would have preferred to see something a little bit more, like, kind of cross-stitchy or something. Like, if you had just a bunch of little kind of, like, cross-stitch stitches or something in the color palette that we're looking at, especially because you have the letters. I do wish that the letters were a little bit bigger, or, like, took up more of the height of the tape, just because we've got a lot of border on each of these. Mainly because if I were gonna use this, I would probably cut out individual letters and kind of, like, use them as titles and stuff like that. Um, but again, this is how I would use the tape. So if you're like, "No, Jess, shut up. I love this. Grandma core is my aesthetic," then it's cool. It's all good. Um, but I think that this one is probably, of the sets we've looked at so far, the one that I would be least attracted to. But I'm also not going to be buying any of the washi tapes because I have literally 3 drawers full of washi tapes that I need to use. So let's see. I like the little decorative scissors though. I think that those are quite cute, and I like them in particular on this blue because I think they stand out quite nicely. They look fairly nice on the pink as well with the gold frames and then the gold handled scissors. But yeah, let's see. You'd love if they were sold individually instead of in sets. No, that's completely fair. I think that's the hard thing, eh? It's like how many tapes in the set do you have to like before you're like, okay, yes, I can justify this purchase or whatnot. But let's see. In terms of our next one, this would be the one related to the acorns. And I think that the palette across these ones looks fairly decent. Or at least it's a palette that I kind of like. Yeah, Maria's still like, I only need one. I'll make the rest work. It's all good. Um, so I think that this one is quite cute. I also think it's interesting that we have like different directions of the tape here. So I think that the acorn one feels like you could use it either vertically or horizontally and it'd be fine. The one at the top is like totally fine. But then this one here is much more of a vertical tape. Like if you ran this horizontally across your page, it would look a little bit strange. I do wish that the elements were larger, and this is the kind of thing that I would rather see as a washi tape sticker set rather than a washi tape, because I would want to use each of the individual elements as like kind of little pieces of decoration across the page. But it's also on, at least from the picture, it looks like it's on a grey blue background. So even if you were going to like cut these individual elements out, you'd have to possibly be mindful that it's not on a white tape. And again, that one is very much just based on me looking at the picture here. It could actually be on a white tape, and it might just be that the picture makes it look kind of a grey, but something to consider. Yeah, I think they'd just be cool as little stickers. And then the one at the bottom, where do people get white pumpkins? Like, I know that we have like grey pumpkins here, but we don't have white pumpkins, and I feel like I see a lot of white pumpkins in stickers and aesthetic pumpkin arrangements because that seems to be a thing. Like, fall here doesn't look like that. The foiling. Oh, yeah. Which ones have the foiling? Oh, yeah, yeah, the one at the bottom, like, with the gold. That's good to point out as well. You're growing white pumpkins. Okay, interesting, yeah, because we have, like, a gray-green kind of pumpkin. We don't really have white pumpkins. It's quite interesting to me. So, do we have another one, or are we back to the start? Okay, we're back to the start. So, having a look through them again, we had the falling leaves one, which I think is personally my favorite. I just think it looks quite cohesive, and I like the leaves, and it doesn't have animals in it, which I don't usually put a lot of animals in my journal. We had the cameras, film kind of thing, or the little TARDISes, or the little canisters with sparkles. We then had the owls, bookish kind of element-esque kind of bits, with the keys and the lamps, which contentious as to whether they look like lamps. And then the cross-stitchy kind of one with the mirrors and the kind of like tea set. It feels quite eclectic, but like mainly themed around the idea of cross stitch. And then the acorns, which I like the one at the top. I'm kind of like a sucker for any kind of like gingham tartan type pattern. And then we've got the different kind of like cozy vibes feelings in that third tape, possibly on a grey though. We're going to have to go through them again so that I can close each of those. But as I do that, let me know which ones of these do you think are your favorite? Which one would be the one that you're like, I'm probably the most inclined to purchase that one in particular? I think that for me, it would probably be this guy. Not that I need it, but it's pretty cute. We've got the film, we've got the attic, we have the cross-stitching ones, and we've got the acorn vibes. Alrighty, you guys reckon it would be acorns, 1 and 2 are cute. The sunflower ones, yeah, I think that the sunflower one is pretty pretty. The owls in the film, the cameras in the frames. Yeah, falling leaves is your favorite out of the release, fair. I think that's the thing, it's like, just because something is my favorite doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to get it either. Like I really quite like the swirling leaves ones, but I also know that in terms of how I use washi tape, I'm probably not going to use that one. So there wouldn't be a lot of point in me purchasing it and then having it sit in my drawer and then get put out in my D-stash without actually being touched. So, not going on my list, but it can go on yours. And you're more than welcome to get any of the ones that you want, even if Jess said she didn't like it. Right? Because that doesn't matter. So let's see. Swirling leaves, falling leaves one. Yeah, the leaves one is quite a favorite. Let's say you're not watching live, but you like the feathers. Yeah, Paper 24 has one. Alrighty, I'll have to go and have a look. So having a look at our next set of items, we have the fall stickers. This is another one where we're going to like open up every single one of the pictures. And again, these ones are themed around the notebooks and the washi tapes we've already seen as well. So you can get the full set if you want. Open image in a new tab. And we're working backwards because I like the fall leaves one. So in terms of that one, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stickers on the page, and we get 2 pages of them. Now, I will say that when it comes to how I use stickers, because we like to do this with the proviso of like what it was just talking about here, why is she talking schmack? When it comes to the way that I use stickers, I typically like to have quite a lot of them because I want to use them across an entire month. So I personally like to have at least 20 stickers when I'm doing things, and they don't necessarily all have to be different, but I do like them to be kind of like varied. I like to have quite a range. So like if we're thinking about, my current journal setup, which is what, coffee inspired or something, it's a tape from the washi tape shop. I've been cutting out all of the individual elements of that, and I don't even think I have enough individual designs to really make my heart happy, because what we're most of the way through the second week of the month as far as my month is concerned, and I feel like I've been repeating elements already. I would need more. So when it comes to the stickers from Archer and Olive, while they do look nice, they're not necessarily going to be what I would use because I prefer to have quite a range. I'm more likely to go buy like a full sticker book or a pack of stickers that has like 20 of, 20 different designs or something like that. Not 20 of 20 because that's 20 times 20. That's like way too many, but 20 different designs. So in terms of these, as we go through, whenever I say there are not enough designs, it's just because of how I like to use stickers. Okay. So for this one, I love the palette. I think that the palette is gorgeous. I think that the swirling leaves in general is quite nice. I like that we have the little window. I think that's really cute. I would like to see that bigger so that people could use it as a cover page. I think that that's quite sweet. So in terms of like Mummy Warden's saying, it doesn't feel like you get enough to make it worth it for me. And I think that that's the thing that I find with the stickers is that I would just want there to be more of them. But I know that you can also purchase these as digital downloads, or at least you have been able to previously. I assume they're going to do something similar for this one. which means that then you can print and cut them as many times as you want. You don't just get like, what do we say? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 stickers per page for 2 pages, 14 stickers. You can print as many as you want, but they are still those designs. So that's the first set we have. In terms of our next one, we have the camera. So we've got the TARDIS or the film canister. We've got 3 different types of camera. One of them looks distinctly older than the others, but maybe that's just because I don't know a lot about the history of cameras. But we've got those Polaroid-esque looking things again. When I think of Polaroids, I typically think of a very specific shape, and that shape is typically a square picture on a rectangular printout. Um, I don't actually play around with a lot of Polaroids, so I don't know if that's the only way they print out. Probably not, but that's typically how I associate it. So when I see picture printouts like the stacks we have here, like this one at the top and this one here, it looks, in my mind, wrong. That's not to say that it actually is, it's just not aligned with what I kind of expect. Yeah. It looks like a 60s, 80s, and 90s camera. See, at least somebody knows the history of cameras. But I think it's quite cute. I think that, again, in terms of the way that I like to use stickers, there are not enough stickers to justify a purchase of the sticker pack. And I think that the color palette on this one is a little bit more eclectic. I like color palettes that are a little bit more matchy-matchy. So this set is probably not for me, but I do think that they're quite cute. Like, the designs themselves are cute. So, and we've got stars and sparkles, and I love stars and sparkles. So in terms of our next one, we have the acorn set, and I think that if I purchased the acorn set and the falling leaf set, then I might have enough stickers to actually feel like I could do things with. So in terms of this one, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, possibly 10 if the acorn down the bottom is by itself. So 10 individual elements with the white pumpkin again, the mysterious white pumpkin. I'm sure that for people who know about white pumpkins and can grow them and see them in shops and stuff, they're just like, it's not that mysterious. But I'm like, the elusive white pumpkin. But in terms of this one, I think I would like to use it alongside the falling leaves one because I think that they kind of match again. We've got the little socks. I think they're quite cute. I think that's also the thing, like, in terms of the elements on these, it's also good to consider, like, does it match the washi tape? Because if you're going to be purchasing those items together to do a theme or a setup or something, it'd be nice if those things kind of like felt like they actually went with each other. So I think that so far, in terms of the majority of the elements we've seen, they do feel like they match. Like, we had our little film canister, we have our little camera designs and stuff. But the squirrel turns you off. That's fair. He looks a little bit chonk. He has like a little chonk arm, which is kind of cute. I feel like we could relate on that. But squirrels in general are quite interesting because the only squirrels that I've really seen is like quite like, I don't know, spry looking, slender squirrel. We don't have squirrels here. The only squirrels I've seen have been in like, I don't know, the UK and Washington, DC. We took so many pictures of squirrels. But I think that this one is quite nice. I probably won't use it. It's not really how I use stickers, but I wouldn't be sad about having this set. So having a look at the next one. This one is the in the attic. So we have the owl. We have a stamp, which feels interesting. We've got some letters that haven't been opened. They've just been stashed in the attic because that's a reasonable way to deal with your mail. We've got a quill. We've got the desk. The desk looks a little interesting. I think it might just be the point perspective on it doesn't look quite right for me because you're kind of looking at it face on, but from the top, so that's why you can see back on the tray and the desk itself, but things don't actually look like they're on there, and I think it might just be because of where the shadows are placed. This is me being really persnickety, okay? I am not a designer. I am not somebody who does drawings like this, so take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt. But there's the lamp, so at least we've got the lamp in this one, and then that will match the washi tape. I like the compass, which is actually not a compass, and I'm just confused. It's actually a clock. Please ignore that. It's just because they're at a cross angle at each other, and I'm like, you're at 90 degrees. It should be a compass. It's not a compass. It's a stopwatch or a pocket watch or something. I like the stack of books. I think that that's quite cute. Yeah, then again, we've got the oil lamp and a normal lamp, all right, just in case you need variety in your lighting. But I think that as far as the sets we've seen, this is probably gonna be the one that I would be the least likely to get for myself, just because I don't know how I would use the design elements in it. But in terms of how many we have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 individual elements, 2 sheets, so that's 18 individual stickers, or if you purchase a digital one, then you can print them as many times as you want. I think the nice part about buying digital ones as well is I'm not too sure what the files actually look like, but there's more of an opportunity to do like color tweaking and color changing if you want to. I know that my friend who buys digital stickers, she likes to do that so that then she can make it match other materials that she has in her collection. So for instance, if you have like, I don't know, a particular green washi tape or something, and the green in the stickers isn't quite right, it's a little off, you can do a little bit of color editing to make them match better, which is kind of nice. So, you know, pro ups for digital stickers. Also, they're digital downloads, so they arrive instantly, so you can get started right away, which is especially helpful if you live the ass end of the world and everything takes a very long time to get here. So, and no storage issues. Exactly. Ah, the benefits. So, that's it. Probably not for me, but we'll go and have a look at the next one. So, this one would be the what was it, the photo frames kind of one. I do think it's interesting that the notebook is about like picture frames and hanging things up, and then the majority of the stickers and the tape and stuff like that, those designs are more about like embroidery, cross stitch, lace work, and stuff like that. Because although I know that you can frame those kind of things, when I think frames, I think pictures or like oil paintings and things. But yeah, this is giving Bridgerton vibes. Oof, yes. So we've got a candle, we've got the lace, the teapot, which we saw, at least the lace and the teapot in the mirror, and the scissors, and most of the other items. We saw those in the tapes. So at least we have like, you know, duplicate elements, that idea of cohesiveness, being able to use them together and make it feel like it's kind of, I don't know, the vibes be vibin'. They fit together, which is nice. I don't remember seeing the candle in the tape, but that just could be because my memory is poor. I'm inclined to go back and check, but I don't think we necessarily need to. Um, I think that the lace work is cute. I don't think that this is my kind of aesthetic or vibe. I think it's, you know, we've got the bird again, and the bird was in the tape as well. But let's have a think. In terms of the ones we've seen, so we'll cycle through. So this is the 5 of them together. Which ones of these would be your favorite? Like, you know, it's probably a pretty strong chance that it's going to be the same as what you had for the tapes. But we've got our falling leaves design. We have our cameras with the 3 styles of camera. We have the acorn design with our fat squirrel looking pretty chonk. We have the in the attic with the owl, and we've got the frames, which is more like, I don't know, cross stitch embroidery kind of style. I think for me, it would probably be, again, the swirling leaves. I like the swirling leaves. I'm not going to get any of the stickers because I don't use the stickers the way that the stickers would be used. That's wordly, very, very poorly worded. But the way I use stickers does not lend themselves to these types of stickers. But if I were to get some, like, you know, if they perchance just happen to fall into my cart, the one I would be least sad about falling into the cart would probably be the swirling leaves one. But let's see. Acorns, tree, and the cams. Nice. We've got the falling leaves, cameras. Alrighty, we're going back to check that tape because I just want to see if I'm like, you know, very, very forgetful. Yeah, I can't. Okay, no. I was wrong. They are there. We'll open this image in a new tab so we can have a look at it. You see it? See it right there? There we go. It was there. It was present. I just didn't see it because it was hiding. And there's the bottom of it. So it is there. It is technically a repeated element. I feel like I would just want more of them, you know? Like I'd want more candles and I'd want more individual little pieces of scissors than you'd get in just a 2-pack, like 2 individual sheets with one of each design. But that's just because of how I like to use stickers. So scrolling down though, so we've got our stickers. That one's looking cute. And then we have stamps. Now, see, literally, it says it right here. Digital printables. Dun, 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 dun. We just have to read things. Reading, ridiculous. So stamp sets. We have 2 new stamp sets. So these ones both come with permanent ink in black, which I don't know is my personal preference of ink. But we have the camera set and we've got the, I don't know, the other set looks kind of eclectic. So we're going to have a look at both of those. So open up our images in the new tab. This one here. So on this one, I'm gonna just scoop myself off so that we can actually see what we're looking at here, because get out of here, Jess. There we go, much better. So we can see we've got like 2 different camera designs, which I think is kind of cute that we have the camera in the top that's hollow, so then you can put the circles underneath it inside it. Does that kind of make sense? So like you could take the this week stamp and put it in the middle of the camera, which would be kind of cute. Or you could take the notes and put it in there, or this just like blank one and then write over the top of it yourself, depending on what ink color you're using or whatever. But I think that's quite cute. Yeah, the stamp set, you know, that will be out before Halloween. The stamp sets do seem to go quite quickly. We've also got the little tabs, which I saw them use on a reel, I think. And you've got the outline and the fill in one as well, which is kind of cute. See, this is the shape that I would be thinking for a Polaroid, right? Like the square for the picture and then the rectangle for the backing. But that would be quite useful. I can think of a lot of uses for those ones, but we've got some little labels of like to do, today, the details, remember, and important. These little shapes that we have down the bottom without the Polaroid, they actually give me like flashbacks to the sub box. So the most recent Archer and Olive sub box that we had, the one from June, that one was like kind of stationery themed. That one had the little pencil and the little scissors and looked like that. I think that the little pencil is cute. It's a little fat pencil. It's cute. I think that the scissors don't match the pencil. Like, if we look at the kind of shapes, if we've got like a chonky little ruler, chonky little scissors, or rather pencil, and then the scissors don't look chonky, and I wish that they looked more like kitty scissors so that they matched better. Not that I'm gonna be the person to use this, so it like does not matter. But yeah, it looks more like the subscription box than it does like this release, but it's quite cute. I think that the camera and the Polaroid in general, and also stars and sparkles, because Jess is a sucker for those. So having a look at the next one though, this one is the one that feels a lot more like the fall kind of vibes. So we've got the falling leaves designed here. We have the frames. I'm pretty sure this guy was in one of the frames on the notebook. We've got the little paw print that was in one of the frames, the pumpkin, but you probably can't stamp that with white ink unless you've got some, so it can't be the elusive white pumpkin. Foliage bits, botanically bits, a little acorn, and then the little acorn sprig design here too. It feels fall, I will say that, but it also feels eclectic, and the design of each of the elements doesn't really feel like they match together. I could be talking schmack. There is no squirrel, so anybody who's like, "Oh, the squirrel gave me the heebie-jeebies," you are fine. But I think that this one in particular doesn't feel as matchy-matchy as the last one did, which is interesting because it also had elements that didn't feel matchy-matchy either. I'm not a stamper though. Like, we know this about me, right? I I find stamps difficult to work with. I'm trying to become more of a stamper. I have purchased some stamps, but when I purchase stamps, I typically like to get sets that feel like they match very, very well. So in terms of the stamp sets that I have 3. Yeah, I have one which is just date calendars, which matches because they're all like calendar stamps, so that's easy. I have one that is all about different genres of reading, so they look like little kind of wax seals or little emblems for each of the different styles of like, genres of reading or whatever, book genres. That one's quite cute. And then the last one I have is a kind of functional set for reading journals, so it has little star ratings and little titles, but all of the lettering styles are the same. The sizes of them are fairly similar, except for the ones that are like supposed to be headers. So they are all very matchy-matchy. Trying to figure out how to send me a white pumpkin. Do not send me a white pumpkin. It would cost an arm and a leg. But the elusive white pumpkin, I'll just have to keep an eye out when I come back to the States. But in terms of our designs, though, get me out of here. So which of these two would be your preference? I mean, the nice part is it's only design 1, design 2. So we'll call this one design 2. Is design 2 your favorite? Or are you more a fan of the first one? We go back and have a look at it. So that was our 2 sets together. Design 1, where we have like, the cameras and such, or design 2 which is the actual kind of like fall aesthetic type thing. This is not saying that you have to buy them, all right? This is just, us having a look and seeing what the general preference is. So 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Okay, so a lot of people for 2, whereas I'm sitting over here like, yeah, nah, I wouldn't get 2, I'd just get 1. That's the thing. We are different people and we're allowed to have different opinions. Yay for us. Diversity. So I think that, yeah, for me, it would probably be number 1, just because I kind of like that Polaroid. I think the Polaroid looks pretty cute. And I think I can see more use for how I'd use like the tabs and stuff like that, more so than the decorative elements, because when I do decoration, I want my decoration to be very cohesive. And that second set isn't the kind of cohesive that I'm looking for. But I'm sure that the stamps will make some people very happy. I like that it comes with the stamp block. I like that it comes with the ink so that you have everything you need ready to go, which is cool. Though there are some instant cameras that print photos similar to what they have on the stickers in the washi tape. Well, that's good to know, because yeah, I'm just like biased towards like, what I think of a Polaroid in my mind kind of a thing. But having a scroll down so you can see some instances of how they've used it. So that one that we were kind of talking about, like using the this week stamp inside of the little camera, or like the middle section, which would be kind of cute. And we've got little kind of tabby looking kind of things. And I like the way that they've stamped the fall leaves across the top here to make a kind of overall pattern. That looks very impressive, because if I didn't know that was stamped, I would assume that they had to hand draw that, because it just looks hand drawn. It's quite cool. So here it tells us that each of those sets retails at $25, comes with your stamps, your acrylic block, and the permanent black ink pad. Nice. Now, this is one that I definitely know is going on my list, and that is the fall Neapolitan notepad. I love the Neapolitan notepad. This one doesn't have blackout paper. So as you can see, it has the craft, a pink and a white, and we have that in 2 different sizes, I guess. Yeah. Oh, it's not even white paper. I'm talking schmack. It's ivory paper. I'm definitely getting this because I don't have any ivory dot grid paper. Neapolitan, because I was kind of thinking to myself, I'm like, do you seriously need another Neapolitan notepad? Like, you'd really only be getting it for the pink. You've already got the craft and the white. It's not white. It's ivory. Alrighty, so Neapolitan, which I can never spell. Neapolitan. Gorgeous. Notepad. And I will be probably getting A5. Notepad. A5. Looking for a notepad in A5. Ivory paper. So, great to keep on your desk for notes to brighten up your space, or use the paper in your journal, which is what I do. I have just looking at from where I can see from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 notepads from Ultra and Olive, because pretty much anytime they come out with one, I get one, because I have scarcity mindset and I worry that I won't be able to get them when I need them. How long is it going to take me to use? What did we say? 11, 12 notepads? Many moons, but I don't care. I'm getting another one. So I want that one because I really want the ivory, because I really like to use ivory paper in my reading journal in particular, because it just makes it look a little bit softer. It's quite nice for things like little checklists, or like I do it for like my rules print off and stuff for our book club, things like that. So definitely getting that one 100% on my list. I don't even know how I'll use the pink, but I will definitely use the craft, and I will use the ivory. So the next one we have, which I mean like giant spoiler because it's already on the screen, but that would be a fountain pen and inks set. So this is a red fountain pen. Previously, we've seen a green one from them. I don't know if we've seen any other colors. I think that green one maybe came as part of a subscription box, possibly from this year, possibly from March, maybe. I don't know if that's correct, but I don't tend to use a lot of fountain pens. I have one fountain pen. It's beautiful. Her name is Iris. I love her. That one was from Mark. He gave it to me as a prezi. And that's the only fountain pen I ever will have, probably. But I like that one. I don't really need another one. The question, was like, how do you use the notepad? I typically use the notepad for things like covering mistakes, doing tip-ins, just trying to add some visual interest to the page by using a different color. Like, I can rip the paper and stick it in the corners and stuff like that. That's typically how I like to use it. Or people will literally just use it as like a notepad and just write things. So read the description, Jess. It literally says it. Probably. Like, I don't read descriptions. Reading. I'm only here to look at pretty pictures. We should know this by now. Like, So, in terms of this one though, this one is a twist piston converter, which I think that people are quite excited about because the filling system that they had in the first one, uh, people were a little bit surprised by, or at least people who typically use fountain pens. I wasn't surprised. I'm like, I don't know anything about this, but I know that people who are a bit more like fountain pen fans, they were a little bit curious as to why Archer and Olive had gone with a particular type of filling system. So, from my understanding, twist piston converter means that you twist it and it sucks ink into the pen. I could be talking schmack though, because I don't use fountain pens. But so in terms of this one, we've got notably pen with, I don't know, the fountain nib stuff. Doesn't know anything, but it looks pretty. It looks nice. I mean, as far as fountain pens go, I have my one fountain pen. I don't really need another, but it does look pretty cute. I'd be interested to see how it actually like feels in the hand. I can't tell you anything about like how long it is or anything like that. If you're the type of person who really likes to use fountain pens, I do know that we have some previous people on the good interwebs that have done some reviews of it. I think that Julia here, previously Julia Royal, she had a video about it, and I'm pretty sure that Mark of Mark Your Pages had a video about it as well, so they would be the people to check out. But in terms of this one, what I'm actually more interested in is the ink. And that's odd because I don't really, oh gosh, it's gone. We'll have to bring that back. So, is it over here? Alrighty. I apologize. Technical difficulties. Ridiculous. This is what you get for trying to use keyboard shortcuts that you don't know how to use. So we're gonna go over here. Share. We're back. Yay! And I might have to reopen up the Archer and Olive blog post as well. So if you're ever wondering how to get there, you just go to Archer and Olive and then you go to Learn and Blog, which pops up underneath this if you can actually get to it. I'm watching you. Thank you, friendo. This is also where the content creators that work with Archer and Olive put their blog posts. So, you know, people on the content team like me, we have blog posts that go up over here, which you can go and read to find out interesting bits and pieces of information. But we'll close that one. We'll scroll back down to where we were. Whee! But as said, the thing that I'm probably the most interested in is actually the ink that they're bringing out with this, because they're doing a set of 3 inks from my understanding. Scrolling back to where we were. Excellent. So in terms of the actual bottles, like the bottles are cute, but I care more about the colors. So having a look at those ones, we have 3 inks. We have amber, slate, and chestnut. And instantly I can start to see a potential problem. Maybe you can see it too. So now, I know that some people use fountain pens and stuff like that in their Archer and Olive journals, and they find them fine. But if you are the kind of person who likes to lay a lot of ink down on a page, or if you have a fountain pen that does lay a lot of ink down, you're probably going to get feathering. If you're the kind of person who uses, like, I think, like a very fine nib that doesn't put a lot of ink down, you can usually get away with it. It isn't too much of a problem. But as far as marketing pictures go, I feel like there could have been a better choice made here. That's not me talking schmack, all right? I'm just saying that, like, if I was the kind of person who was using fountain pen inks in my journal, I probably don't want them to feather. If you're like, what the heck is she talking about? Feathering is just where the ink moves away from where you initially put it down on the page, so kind of like spiders or creeps out from the original kind of like where the line work was, which you can kind of see with a slate here. So you can see that it's kind of like creeping out from the initially drawn in lines type of a deal. So yeah, Latrinol is terrible with fountain pen inks, even your extra fine nibs. Yeah, I think that like it also comes down to like your personal tolerance for things like that. I've used my fountain pen in my Archer and Olive and found it fine, but I'm also using, I think it's either a fine point. It must be a fine point. I don't think Mark would have gotten me a medium, but I believe it's a fine point, could be talking schmack, and the feathering doesn't happen too bad with it, but I also know that my tolerance for feathering is probably a little higher than some people's. I know that people who use fountain pens a lot, a good chunk of them get very particular about how they want theirs to look. But if we just look at colors, because, you know, writing is not the only way that you can use inks. So we've got the slate, which is kind of like that dark gray. We have the chestnut, which is a very pretty brown. And then we have the amber, which is more like a kind of golden orange type color. So color wise, I think they're very pretty. Feathering wise in this picture, the heebie jeebies. But in terms of a set and thinking about whether they are like fall appropriate, this feels very fall for me. The brown is really nice. I think that that's really gorgeous. The golden amber is really pretty as well. They come as a set of 3 though, so you're going to get all 3 together. I don't need them. I I don't change the ink in my fountain pen. I have what TikTok Croc in there, which is this kind of like green blue color, beautiful. And I literally only use it to write, just write with the fountain pen. I'm not usually writing anything of substance. I'm usually writing the word fountain pen, actually. But let's see. Fine point and the inks from the sub box didn't feather for you, but you bet it's from the medium point. Yeah, I would say that like the nib size of the pen probably has something to do with the level of feathering, just because of how much ink it's putting down. But I'm not too sure. I think that if I were to get this, I would just use the ink in a different way. I probably wouldn't use it in a fountain pen, but because I don't have a distinct use for it and I do not need to start collecting another thing, I'm going to be avoiding this one, even though the colors are very pretty. So let's see. We've got, yep, pair with a fountain pen or use alone in painting and crafting. Oh, it even gives you some ideas. So the next item we have, which does tempt me, is a large messenger bag. I don't need another bag, but it's so pretty. Like, I love the strap that they've got with the detailing on that, and I love the color of the faux leather. I just know that if I had that kind of like sand color bag, I would get it so bloody dirty. Like, what a mess. If it was black, I'd be much more inclined because hello. I do often tend towards that end of the spectrum, but like I don't need more bags, but I kind of want it. I'm probably not going to get it, but I'm tempted to put it on my list. Maybe I could put it in the maybe column. So, in terms of the actual bag, we've got this retailing at $65, it tells us. So, in terms of this is our largest bag yet. So, 17 by 14 by 4 inches. So, that'd be like 4 deep by 14 up by 17 long. So it should be fairly decent for like, yeah, putting in a laptop or letter size notebooks or other stationery supplies. I love a big bag. The strap is so gorgeous. I like the color palette on the strap, and I like the matching of the brown of the overflap to the brown that they've used in the stitching. I think that that's quite cute. In centimeters, je ne sais pas. But whenever I wonder about these kind of things, I take to the internet and do inches to centimeters. type. So in terms of 17 inches, that is going to be 43 centimeters. So 43 centimeters across. This bag is almost half a meter. Love that. So we've also got like a pocket in the end, so you can like put your water bottle in there as well, which is nice. Let's see. Vegan leather fold over secured with a magnetic snap closure. I love that. Onto a herringbone cotton canvas. So that's a whole bunch of buzzwords. Let's have a look inside the bag. So you can see how things will actually fit in here. We've got that kind of like pocketing in the back, which has stitching on like one side. And then we've got little space for pens and such. I always get very nervous about putting pens directly into a bag because I worry that the pen like cap is going to click off and I'm going to end up drawing on the inside of my bag. Has it happened before? Not in a bag, but it did certainly happen on my hoodie because I put a pen in my hair and I didn't realize it was clipped and it scribbled all over the inside of my hoodie. And it was the one hoodie that I had that wasn't black, because if it was black, it wouldn't have mattered. But no, it was pale blue on the inside. So now there's a giant scribble on the inside of my hoodie. Pointless story, but continuing. So we have enough space to put in like a little journal in this pocket here, which is cute. And then you can shove all your other ones in here. Like, I don't need a bag, but it's cute. Like the little like display of the water bottle in the pocket and such. I'm pretty sure that's like the water bottle that I had in a previous sub box, like June last year. My knowledge of the sub boxes and what has come in each one is waning because I haven't been getting every single one. When I used to get every single one, I knew very like acutely, like it was from this year, it was from this release, and this is what else came with it. But now I just don't know. So I don't need it. but I want it. Yeah, what will you pack inside this bag? Everything, my entire life. But I I'm not gonna put it on my list, even though it's gorgeous, because I literally just got the Archer and Olive Creativity case, the, one that also comes with a strap, the newer one, and I got that one in black, so that's the one that's, like, it's got my heart. But in terms of our next item, pencil bags! I am a sucker for a pencil bag as well, so we have our zipper pouches or pencil bags. So equipped with a new handle so that you can whack people with it, I don't know. We've got the red, which is gorgeous, and we've got the brown. So they do feel very fall colors. Um, Maroon canvas zipper pouch, and then the acorn vegan leather. I wonder what makes them call this acorn because I can't see anything that would suggest acorn, but maybe it's just because it's the same color as the notebook. Maybe that's where our name came from there. I really love the red though. I'm very tempted. I already have 2 pencil bags from Archer and Olive. That is a lie. I have 2 of this like shape and size, and then I have like 4-ish of the ones that you can slip over the front cover of your notebook. I don't need it, but I want it. Yeah, I got one of them on a Black Friday sale as well. I'm thinking maybe I will like save myself for Black Friday and see if they're still there at Black Friday and then pick one up because that's the thing, like, we have this one coming out, this release. We then have the September subscription box, which I don't know anything about, I only know the theme, and I'm excited. But so I'm like, "That's another one coming out." We then have Halloween that comes out usually in September, and then we have Black Friday, so I'm like, "Oh, this is the exciting end of the year, and I need to, like, hold myself to account, but also you only live once." So we'll see. Vogel's laughing at me from his office. But we have the zipper pouches. I am tempted. I don't think I need one, but if I was gonna get one, I would probably get the red one because I love it. Wait, what's the theme for September? I cannot tell you that. I wish I could tell you that, but I can't yet. Yet. But anywho, so moving on before I spoil too much. We then have the printable planner tabs. So these are the ones that you can actually like, just print off at home and then cut out and stick into your notebook. We've got them in a range of different colors. So we'll open those ones up and have a look because they also have little design elements on them. Now, when it came to the design of these last time, I had some things to say because when do I not? Girl's always running her mouth. In particular about how those would fold over the page and the alignment of the designs because it was very much that like you could view it from one direction when it was printed and both of the elements were aligned like right way up, but that meant that when it folded over the page it would look a little bit weird or it would look kind of like upside down. So since then, let's go see. We've got this palette, very pretty. So you can see that the elements really only fall on one side and they come like some of them close to where the fold is. They don't sit over the fold, which is good. In terms of the palette is very pretty. I realize I'm in the way. Excuse me. Much better. So that we can actually see what we're looking at. There we go. If I put that over there, can I come back? Yay. So the palette's cute. Love the palette. I think that this one here, where the window is kind of like cut off, is kind of interesting. I would probably prefer it to be a little bit more in frame, but I like the little lamppost. I think that's kind of cute. I just like that we don't have any designs that are sticking over the fold, and we don't have any that would look like they're incorrectly aligned. But that's because we also don't have any that sit on the top side of any of these. So when you stick it down and fold it over, the back side of those is always going to be plain or decorated, I suppose, if you flip them around. But I would probably have the decoration facing me when I was first looking at the page. Does that make sense? Anyway, so can I give you a date for the release of the sub box? The sub box is always going to come out like kind of like first week and a half of the month that it gets released. So that'll be September. It'll ship out to people who are already subscribed on the 1st of September. And then in terms of opening for new subscribers, it's usually around the 6th to the 8th kind of a thing. So not too long to wait, but that's cute. Love the palette. But then again, I also really like the Falling Leaves palette that we had already. So having a look at the next one, we've got, ooh, that's a nice palette too. move it over here for us. So this one, we can see that some of the designs do fall over that center line. So when you fold it over, you will be able to see a little bit. I'm in particular thinking about this guy here. So when you fold it over, you're going to get a very small amount of that film strip. I think that's the strap of the camera. Yeah, a very small part of the strap of the camera will fold over. I personally don't like that, but that's because I'm a persnickety biscuit. In terms of the palette, though, I do quite like the palette of this one. Nothing else seems like it's going to fold over and be kind of like cut off. Everything else seems to be like on one side of the tab. So we've got that one. In terms of the next one, this one is the squirrel set, but the palette feels more subdued. The palette feels more similar to what we had on just the roll of tape that was for the kind of like cozy vibe elements, like the socks, the candle, the cup of tea, or whatever it was. We have the elusive white pumpkin, of course. I'm not sad about the palette. I mean, I think that the palette looks cohesive enough, but I do feel like we ended up with a lot more kind of like green and like darker, kind of more punchy kind of elements in the tapes and the stickers than we do in the tabs. So interesting. I also think it's interesting that we have like that kind of, I don't know, buckram pattern, but only on one side of this tab. That feels like an odd choice. But then again, we also don't have any other tabs that are fully patterned, so maybe that's why. Shrug. That's one for that one. And then we have the tabs for the owl. We don't have any, I think, that go over. We have the lamp is back. But yeah. In terms of like the actual kind of color palette of this one, this probably isn't really my favorite palette, but I like that we've got the little, I keep calling them stopwatches. It's not a stopwatch, right? It's just a watch. Like a pocket watch. That's why. But yeah, I think that this one is like, it seems to match the tape, but I also don't think that the palette is really for me personally. But that's because I don't usually tend towards things that are more subdued. I don't know. Shrug. So, let's see. Was that I feel like there was one more, right? Yeah, there we go. This palette looks different to what we've had. Okay, because like when we had the frames, right? It was mainly like the pink was still the same. We did have some gold, but where's the red gone? like, like we've got some red in the actual kind of elements themselves, like the little picture frame and stuff. But I feel like we had a lot more of a kind of like a burgundy type thing happening before. So I don't necessarily know if these match the tapes as well as they could. Like palette-wise, it's a nice palette. I think I like the darker kind of like subdued blue with the mustard and the pink. I think that those three colors look quite nice together. And then the dark gray beige, that's fine. It's just an added like a bonus color or whatever. But I think that I don't think that this one matches as well as it could to the other things that we had in that collection. Personal opinion. But let's have a look. So, of the 5 of them together, I don't use tabs, so of course take this with a giant grain of salt. Palette-wise, I really like the Swirling Leaves palette. I think that looks nice together, even though it's a little bit more subdued, like in terms of like how punchy you can get an orange or a yellow or a green. It's still quite nice. And then the other palette that I quite like would be the cameras. But I don't like the fact that there is that tab where if you fold it over, you will see part of the strap. That would irk me. Yeah. Maybe it's because the notebook for that one is kind of burgundy. Yeah, I think that that's just like I would prefer it to match. I feel like that palette there on the frame wall one doesn't match the notebook as well as some of the other ones do. Like in terms of the Swirling Leaves one, that has been very consistent throughout all of the elements, and I like that. I love consistency. I love a cohesive palette, that kind of thing. It fills my soul with the happies. Whereas things that are a little bit more eclectic, like the frame wall printable tabs versus the other elements we've seen, I mean, it just means I'm like marked safe from, purchasing those elements, which is fine because my list already has a decent chunk of stuff on it. The wallet cries. Oh no. But in terms of that one, we also have the Kit Club. That one is kind of what I consider to be like a different release though, so we're not really going to look at that one. But in terms of the elements we saw, Which ones do you think are going on your list? The ones that you're like, "Oh my gosh, I must get this. I really, really want this." For me, that's gonna be, like, the frames A5 and the A5 leaves. I really liked those ones. The calligraph pens, definitely coming into my collection, and then that Neapolitan notepad because it's not white, it's ivory, and we don't have ivory, or at least I don't. The only ivory notepads I have are, like, super thin, not like 160 GSM paper, so it'd be nice to have some thicker paper in that color. But I'd love to hear what you're getting. As mentioned before, if you want to grab yourself some savings, you can use JashiiCorrin 10 at checkout. We love savings, all right? Painful price. Ew, hate that for us. But you don't have to use somebody else's code. It doesn't matter. But if you're going to grab something, just save yourself some money. All right. So let me know what you're going to be getting in the comments below, and I will catch you guys next time. Thanks for hanging out with me. Bye for now.